All right, the Detroit Lions just got a massive glimpse into the future with a really big contract extension. For somebody who doesn't play for our team, don't worry, but it shows us even more why Brad Holmes is being really, really smart with the salary cap. My biggest fear with Brad Holmes is that he was going to be a great talent evaluator, a great drafter, but he wasn't going to be smart with the salary cap. He's proving to be extremely patient with the salary cap, which I love. Plus, Dan Campbell is talking about his new coordinators and how good they are. We're going to get into talking about that in this one as well and how we're not starting from scratch. But before I get into that, we're talking about a contract extension for a tight end. And I've been loved starting these videos just asking a random question. All right, so for this one, who is your favorite Detroit Lions tight end of all time? And you are not allowed to type in those comments, Sam LaPorta. You got to say something else. He's too young, all right? I don't like making it so you can't say it, but you can't say Sam LaPorta. Who's your favorite Lions tight end? I mean, just, are you going to go obscure with it? Are you not? Like, what are you thinking? Are you going to go like Fitzsimmons? Are you going to go, I'm trying to remember, who's the guy who was like, Fournier, right? Like 6'7", just nuts. David Sloan. That's my guy. Stonehand Sloan. Just absolutely loved him. He was in there. Or is it Dan Campbell? Like, there's so many options. All right, I'm going to stop talking about this. The Arizona Cardinals have the second best tight end in the NFL. And they just make him the highest paid tight end ever with a 4-year, $76 million extension. By the way, he's now signed through 2029. That's much better. He still has another full year. So he is going to be paid well. $19 million tops the tight end position. The Chiefs, Travis Kelce, ranked second at $17 million per year. Kyler Murray immediately went to worth every penny. Well, yeah, because Kyler Murray apparently thinks McBride is significantly better than Marvin Harrison Jr. because he just throws him the ball constantly, while saying it's not his job to throw the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr., force it to him. Second round pick in 2022, flash potential after posting 81, 825, and 3 stat line in 23. Got even better with almost 1,200 yards and 111 catches. That is crazy for a tight end. But that is the type of contract that we are going to be looking at with Sam LaPorta. And that's not even factoring in Jamison Williams. That's not factoring in Brian Branch. That's not factoring in all of these guys that we've already paid, right? St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Jared Goff. How about Jahmyr Gibbs? All right, these are a bunch of guys that are going to be making large amounts of money. So we just got to look into the future of what that looks like, and that is why Brad Holmes is not spending a ton of money right now, because he knows that we can replace in the future. And also, by the way, just remember this. This will be interesting to see how we use the tight end position this year with a new offensive coordinator. But John Morton, that is, right? But the thing that's interesting to me on this one is, remember, we let Hockenson go right before he signed for a bunch of money, and we drafted LaPorta. And we basically are like, all right, see ya. See Hockenson. And then we basically used that draft pick, I think it was one round earlier, that we got from Hockenson to draft a tight end that we could pay $10 to $15 million less per year to be better. I just remember that. There are players that the Lions will do that with. Could Sam LaPorta be one of them? I don't know. We got 2 more years to find out. But McBride got this extension this year. LaPorta can be getting an extension next offseason because he has 2 more years on his rookie contract. So just prepare yourself from that. Now let's talk about what Campbell said recently. This is interesting to me. All right, he was talking about the new coordinators, and he said the Lions aren't starting from scratch. All right, look at that. What a good-looking dude, you know? Just a man right there. That, I don't know. That was a weird thing to say. Like, just Dan Campbell, he looks so confident in that picture, doesn't he? Can I do the... Hold on. Yeah. All right, I don't got it. All right, with that being said, he simply said, we'll be fine. I don't know, there's other articles that I was reading that talked about how a lot of execs are worried about what we'll do with our new coordinators. Well, one person who doesn't seem worried is our head coach, Dan Campbell. I really do sometimes wonder if there's any truth to the fact that there was rumblings that Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell weren't necessarily seeing eye to eye on everything toward the end of last year, and that it was actually time for them to part ways. I wonder if Ben Johnson was starting to get a little too cute. I personally thought the offense was starting to get a little too cute. It was fun, but at the same time, it was terrifying. And Dan Campbell gave him the freedom to do it, which is what makes Dan Campbell so great. But I'm wondering if he went there. He also added this. He said, it'll kind of be fresh and new, actually. And I think we're all excited about that when talking about his two new coordinators. He actually said, we are excited about that. It'll be fresh. It'll be new. But this is the one that I love. All right? Because everybody's acting like we're in trouble and nothing is going to go well. He said, John Morton stepping in as offensive coordinator. Somebody I trust. That's a big word. Do you remember when Ben Johnson was becoming the offensive coordinator after Dan Campbell, his first year as coach, he had been calling plays. Ben Johnson was giving him passing plays. Anthony Lynn was giving him running plays. And then Dan Campbell would call him. And then the Lions coaching staff was the coaching staff at the Senior Bowl. And we'll get into this quote in a second. The Lions coaching staff was the coaching staff at the Senior Bowl, the Reese's Senior Bowl. And he allowed Ben Johnson to call plays, and we'll see. He said, this is a trial for him. We'll see how he does. Even into the preseason that year, Dan Campbell wasn't like, yep, he's the guy. He's our offensive coordinator, and he will be calling plays. He was the offensive coordinator, but he hadn't just given him responsibility to call plays. This is crazy. Dan Campbell used this word trust. He has more trust in John Morton day one than he did in Ben Johnson. All right? He said, somebody I trust, I've been around. He was here when we built this thing back up in 22, Campbell said. I can't tell you how important that is and how important his role was that. He goes, and then Kelvin Shepard's been here, man. It's not like we'll be starting from scratch with somebody I don't know. Look, whenever you lose a coordinator from an offense, right, that leads the NFL in points scored, obviously it's going to be some bumps along the road. It will. But there's also so much talent on this team. I thought it was clear that Ben Johnson was able to maximize Amon-Ra St. Brown's role. I thought he did a great job with that. And I think it took him forever to get J-Mo even close to where Jameson Williams should be. And then, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I don't think he utilized Jahmyr Gibbs very well. Jahmyr Gibbs is an absolute massive talent. And I think you would have seen a better version of Jahmyr Gibbs, and you will see a better version of Jahmyr Gibbs with John Morton. I think you will see Jahmyr Gibbs be able to be involved in the passing game more. And no, Jahmyr Gibbs is not Christian McCaffrey. No, Jahmyr Gibbs is not going to be just running these remarkable routes. And maybe he will this year because he'll have more time to work on it because he won't hurt his hamstring, hopefully, in the preseason or in training camp. But at the same time, like just something as simple as the screen pass. I've been talking about this. I'm not going to stop talking about it, y'all. I'm not going to stop talking about it. Because I'm telling you, it is something that could be huge. Alvin Kamara has been a phenomenal running back, and he is not nearly as talented as Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, he's very talented, but Jahmyr Gibbs is just different. He's built different. And you don't have to be a Detroit Lions fan to see that. One of my best friends, I was just talking to him on the phone. He just traded. It was a fantasy football league. I get it. It's fantasy football. This is where I'm just talking. He traded Justin Jefferson away for Jahmyr Gibbs. Why? Because even though he's a Packers fan, he watches Jahmyr Gibbs and says, by far the most talented running back in the NFL. Yeah, he watches Saquon Barkley. He knows he's there. He watches Bijan Robinson. He knows he's there. But he's saying that Jahmyr Gibbs is by far the most talented, and I agree with him. He is just different when you watch him on film. He's built different. He is different. So, I think we have an offensive coordinator who will utilize him more. And then don't even get me started on Shep. All right, Kelvin Shepard, I think, is going to be a better defensive coordinator than Aaron Glenn. Could this flop? Absolutely. Do I trust Dan Campbell? More so than I think it could flop. I trust Dan Campbell. And the reason I don't think this is going to flop, and I've said this 100 times, it's the same thing as I keep talking about the stupid screen pass. I really do, right? But it's the exact same thing that I'm going to talk about. Sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel to be effective. You don't have to lead the league in man coverage by a huge margin for your corners and your linebackers, where all your corners and linebackers lead in percentage of man coverage snaps played. While meanwhile, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you just need to do multiple things well, and you need to be unpredictable. And it's the same thing on the offensive side. You don't need to do trick plays up the wazoo. You just need to have weapons and skill players that are doing the right thing, making the simple play, and then you allow your playmakers to play well. There's an offensive coordinator. He was a horrible offensive coordinator for U of M. I'm not even going to say his name. He won an award for best coordinator of the year. It was the biggest joke ever. Then got fired the next year and hasn't done well anywhere else. But he had this term called speed and space, and he coined it. And the Detroit Lions have players that if you get them in space will do miraculous things, especially at their position. Jameson Williams will just simply run away from you. You give him room, boom, gone. Boom. Jahmyr Gibbs, he will run through you, he will run around you, and he will never let you catch him. He is phenomenal in space. As far as tight ends go, Sam LaPorta is phenomenal. Remember, coming out of Iowa, his broken tackle rate was one of the best in all of college football, and by far the best tight end we had seen in a long time. It's like Kittle. So when we look at these things, we have guys with superpowers. And it's not even saying we have another starting level running back in David Montgomery. Amon-Ra St. Brown, when he's in space, does amazing things. We have a lot of talented guys. Sometimes you just need to scheme them up well. You don't need to trick them up. All right. Thanks for watching. I talked a lot. See you on the next one.